So I was reading through your biography and everything and listening to your music. You have a very interesting history.
Uh-huh.
You were born in Israel?
Correct.
Okay. How long did you live in Israel for before you moved?
So I was born in 52. So we stayed 2 years. The first time we lived a few times in Israel. My father was a theologian, an Old Testament scholar, and
Okay.
we had gone to Israel for his studies, at the University of Jerusalem. We are not Jews. We're not Jewish. We are Jewish at heart, but we are not Jews. We are Christians. As a matter of fact, my father was a minister,
Okay.
Protestant, and his father was a minister. My grandfather was a minister as well. And my father became a professor of Old Testament, and so he left the church. Not he didn't leave the church, but he didn't he became a professor and a writer and a scholar, a biblical scholar, after being a minister. So he always was a minister. Actually, he married me. So that's beautiful. Uh, so and then I went to back to Israel when I was about 12 years for 1 year.
Okay.
Again, connected with my father's studies, advanced work in theology, Old Testament, and we stayed there 1 year. I went, yeah. But we always had an affinity or a bond with Judaism. As non-Jew, but still very attracted to Judaism. And I'm not talking about politics right now. I'm talking more
Oh,
about,
that's
meaning the religious aspect of it.
yes.
Uh, the attitude, the religious, the life, the existential, the religious attitude towards meaning of life, things like that. So we are very Jewish at heart in that sense, very biblical in that sense. Uh, but again, the politics is a different world that is unfortunate right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. So how did you from all of that, and I know you moved to France and to Belgium and everything, so you have quite, an eclectic circle there of different cultures and everything else, which is nice. How did you slip into blues music?
Well, the interesting, of course, here I am, French-speaking Belgian, and my family for centuries have been in Belgium on both sides of the family. So I guess I'm a true Belgian, uh, French-speaking Belgian, and white. And why am I playing the blues? Well, it's very early in my life. With all the changes and the difficulty also in my home, I had things changed for the better. So I have to say that with the years. But it was very rough childhood for me, at home. And so I, there early, my sadness was very strong and very strong and deep and all that stuff. And I was a non-verbal child. And so I kept a lot of things inside and despair, all that stuff. But my father had given me a harmonica when I was very, very young. I mean, I was three. Probably we were living in Alsace, France, when my father was doing. He had a parish in while doing his doctor. One, he's got two doctorates. He had two doctorates, one in philosophy, one in theology. So in the Old Testament studies, all of that. So to make ends meet while he was going to University of Strasbourg in Alsace, France. He had a parish. So, anyways, we stayed there for a couple of years, and after Israel, I believe we went to France, Alsace, there in Neuvillers. It was called a village. Anyways, he gave me a gift. When I was 3 years old, it was a plastic harmonica, green. I always say that, four holes. I remember the whole experience. And he gave it to me, and then it was a toy. It definitely was a toy. But I was crying. all the sounds of this harmonica, in, out, in. I was just crying, and crying. My sadness came out, but also the experience of awe. I had an awe experience where I felt. There was something about the harmonica, about the plaintive, I guess, the sound, in and out. But there was something about the harmonica that I knew was very connected with me, and I never knew what to play. All the years while we were in Europe, I came to Chicago when I was 16 and a half years old, in the summer, early summer maybe of 1969. I was
Oh,
16 years old. So my father had received a full-time tenured position in Chicago, in Hyde Park, Chicago, and but I always knew the harmonica was for me. The French and the French songs. I had harmonica. Certainly, accordion. Accordion was a big thing. I was always attracted to the accordion as a sound, the warmth and the B3. The church. Because we did go to church on Sundays, not all Sundays, but often, and so I loved the organ sound as well, but it's the harmonica. So eventually in my youth, let's say before Chicago, I had the Beatles. Eventually came the Rolling Stones, some harmonica. The John Lennon playing or what have you. But it was never enough, even though I had the passion for it, but never enough for me to say my life is playing music. So it was Chicago who did it for me. And as I say, we had moved, immigrated to Chicago from Belgium. My father was a professor in Brussels, and in Old Testament again, and so he had come back and forth to Brussels, Chicago, until, as I said, they gave him a tenured, and so that summer, I would say late summer, maybe August, I decided to go for a walk alone in Hyde Park, Chicago, and we were living on the campus of University of Chicago. And I was walking, and I heard a sound I never heard before in my life, a distant sound, and that just gave me the an excitement and an overwhelming sense of I got to go. I got to go to that sound. And so I was able to, as I said, I was 16 and a half, so I kind of looked like a University of Chicago student. I was not a college student. I was going to enter a junior, senior year, at the lab school at the University of Chicago High School. But they let me in, and you needed a car to get in. It was a concert that was offered to returning students to the next quarter at the University of Chicago. And I had no idea about this. This is later I figured it out. I had no idea what I was doing and what was going on. But they had a blues band, a quartet, that was playing electric blues. I never knew what blues was. I didn't know at the time. But they let me in, even though I had nothing to show. And my English was not very good at all. I had 1 year of English at the time. So I mean, enough to. But anyways, they let me in, and there was a harmonica player playing with an amplifier on the chair, and bass, guitar, and drums. I had no idea who they were, and this harmonica changed my life. Player changed my life. I listened to this guy, this man, older man for me at the time. I was 16, so he was much older.
mhm.
Uh, and I was moved to no end. My life changed right there, and it was Big Walter Horton that I figured out his name, and I became a disciple of Big Walter Horton, and of course Little Walter eventually, and all the list of an amazing legends, Sonny Boys, all those. but it is Big Horton that changed my life. It was a Saturday night. I recognized no songs at all, but just the amplified sound and the horn sound out of the harmonica is what turned me on so much. And he played one song that night that I recognized, which was La Cucaracha. He was very well known for that song, and where he would play solos over that theme, over that melody. I'm very much of a melody player. I love harmony. I like harmonica, but I like harmony in the harmonica. I love playing background music to the band. I love soloing certainly, but I enjoy the blending into the band. And so I love bass lines. I became a songwriter, so all of that helps because I love harmony. I love the ensemble approach to my music. Of course, when I have to solo, I solo, and fine, I do. But I don't play to solo necessarily, even though I enjoy it. I play for the ensemble, and of course to have my part, my contribution. But anyways, the La Cucaracha is what I heard, and I couldn't believe it. I recognized it, and so forth. So that was a Saturday. On Sunday, Helen, I go to there was a Harper Court area in Chicago. In Hyde Park, they had a music store. I forgot the name of it, but I think it was called Harper something. And it was closed on Sunday. So on Monday, I go back to buy my first harmonica. And my father, of all people, had bought me he had gone to India as a theologian. He had a trip, some kind of a conference. I'm not too sure where he was speaking. He became a very well-known theologian in his field. And that was, I don't know if he was, I'm not too sure the context, but he had brought me a harmonica back from India, I think, or one of his trips. He got, but a real one, this one, a 10-hole Horner Marine band. And so he gave me another harmonica. Interestingly enough, I don't think he knew at the time. I don't think I was not very close to my dad. I was very scared of him, as much of an idealization I had of him because he was a philosopher. I mean, I listened a lot. I learned. I tried to learn, and I knew that his teachings and message about life. And my mother. My mother was an angel, and I adore my mother. And they were very united as a couple. Uh, so I always listened. So I always had this admiration for him. But he had a temper, and I was very scared for my life even. So that's how it was at the time. It totally changed with the years. After Chicago, as a matter of fact, when I became a young adult, late teens, he apologized, and he had a conversion, whatever the term is, but he had a reckoning with his own demons, whatever that is, because there was really dark stuff on his end. But and it was beautiful. I had two fathers. I always say that I had two fathers, but and we became best of friends, and all of that later on in life. But the chaos and the trauma was definitely in me. So the blues is not by chance that I was attracted to blues, because I had dealt with suicidal stuff and do I live? Do I not live? That's serious, Helen. I'm telling you, that's serious. So, but anyways, God, I don't know what happened. I've always been loved. As a little boy, I was kind. I always that part of me that God gave me, and destiny gave me, or what have you. I was blessed enough to have people, even in my darkest hours, the people still had an affection for me, or I kind of felt there was something that they saw in me that was positive for them. So, and that's for me is the ultimate meaning, is to do something in life for the world, as opposed to do something that I love. Yeah, but I'm very much into that biblical philosophy or view that we are here for a purpose. And so all of that helped me to I start reading books and philosophy later in life, At the time, I was too overwhelmed. I couldn't read. I couldn't be an intellectual like my father. It would have been awesome if I had become an intellectual young in life, but it just maybe it's a rebellion. I'm not too sure what. But anyways, so the harmonica meant enormously to me. And when I heard Big Walter that night, it changed my life. I mean, I still had this aspiration to become an intellectual eventually, which I became. I went to university, all of that. Eventually, I studied psychology, which is not by chance. Not by chance, and I enjoyed it, loved it, and I went all the way with that, and it was my profession for a long time to help the family. I have kids and grandkids now, and so forth. So I helped the family with that, and it was a beautiful vocation as well. So I call it a vocation to a healing side of, but also brought money home, to help me with music. But anyways, I can go on and on. But Big Walter is that changed my life for sure.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and as I was listening to you talk too, and you talk about your father and, suicide and music and things like that, I can relate to a lot of that. Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, when I was growing up, I was scared of my father too, and it seemed like, music was the only thing that kept me going. It was always, ooh, there's always another new song to find or to listen to or something. And that really kept me hanging on, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah. It's
because
yeah.
it's amazing what music can do to the soul.
No, that is true, Helen. I had two phases with this. I mean, so I was so intense with music. I worked 6, 7, 8 hours a day. I mean, I was obsessed with the harmonica, trying to. I was asking questions. I was, at the lab school of the in Hyde Park, laboratory school of the University of Chicago. Some people were playing. It was very popular. Paul Butterfield, who is from Hyde Park, Chicago, was kind of very, very influential. And people trying Muddy Waters, obviously. James Cotton, all these guys, Little Walter died 1 year before I got to Chicago, so I never met him. And I, of course, met people who played with him and Sam Lay, people like that, who knew him or would tell me stories. But I never, because he became my ultimate master is Little Walter, even though Big Walter never left my heart. So I am very attracted to Big Walter as well. His tonality, his phrasing. He always said, when he was asked questions, in interviews, what makes a good harmonica player? He would always say, sometimes drunk or whatever, because he did drink heavily. And he was scary to me, by the way. Big Walter was scary to me because of his eyes, being drunk and all that. I was too shy. Junior Wells was amazing with me, so I had that, in my life, that I can feel thankful to God to have had Junior Wells as my mentor in life. Really, he took me under his wing. But Big Walter always said two things makes a good harmonica player: tone and phrasing. So I say, oh well, I guess no wonder I'm attracted to his music, and I listen to everything by Big Walter, everything by any harmonica player. I would buy any. I didn't have much money, but at the time, LPs were not too expensive. So I would buy anything that I saw harmonica, a name I never heard of. At the time I was a novice, I had no idea. It's all the Muddy Waters, all the Little Walter, all I listened to everything. Papa Lightfoot, Papa Lightfoot, who had very few songs. They were just astonishing as a harmonica player. George Papa Lightfoot, and he had 1 or 2 albums on his own, but he was part of a compilation, Papa Lightfoot, and he had 1 or 2 guest spots on this. It even was a country blues album. I think it was a double. But he had two songs on it. His tone and his playing was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, ridiculous. So, anyways, that's the part of the excitement I had. But as I mentioned, eventually, because of my trauma from childhood, I played for a few years. Then I moved to Montreal, Canada, to finish my French baccalaureate, as we say in French. So my high school diploma, I went to Montreal. That was the only place I could go, or California at the time. So I chose Canada. I chose Quebec, and it was wonderful years there. But I had I was alone, and I continued playing. I met musicians. I was in a band, all that kind of stuff. But I hit bottom. I hit totally bottom. Music at the time, Helen, did not feed me anymore. I actually got worse playing because I didn't have words. I didn't have at the time a life review, if you wish. So, and I was studying psychology as an undergraduate at the time in Montreal, and I hit bottom, and I stopped music for about 10 years, maybe eight. Where I studied psychology. I read everything I could. I read people who suffered more than me, Holocaust, survivors. Elie Wiesel, all of them. My father was very close to many of these survivors. Bruno Bettelheim, and people. I was lucky to be in a family. I have an older brother, 19 months, younger sister. So the three of us and my parents were the only one in Chicago. But my father had, because of University of Chicago connection, we met the biggest heads, the biggest, historian of religions, Mircea Eliade, people like that. So who knew Carl Jung? I mean, unbelievable stuff. So, but also Holocaust survivors. And we were, as a family, devastated by the World War II, as everybody was. We lost family member in a concentration camp. My grandfather was tortured, literally tortured, for being accused to be part of a resistance, as we say. He was put in front of firing squad twice and saved by a priest who say yes, but he's a foreman. He's a leader, but he's a foreman in a glass factory. He worked in a glass factory. But anyways, Holocaust survivors interested me for many, many reasons, and I was exposed as a child, even in my school. I went to a Jewish school, of all places. My brother and I went to a Jewish Orthodox school in Brussels because my parents wanted, my father in particular, and his father wanted us to have a compassion for Jews and Judaism and so forth. So I was exposed to already the suffering, but reading, Viktor Frankl, people like that who survived the Holocaust, gave me a meaning, gave me an understanding of how to cope with the surreal. How to cope with something you cannot change but experience. You can change the attitude, but anyways, my depression was extremely. I had panic attack. The whole shebang. So all of that helped me enormously because I could put words to my feelings. I read existentialism, American existentialism, optimistic, as opposed to the French, the Jean-Paul Sartre, people like that who talk about meaning. Life has no meaning. I read about people who said life has meaning, all the Jewish theologians. So, in spite of suffering, there's meaning. And the meaning is love, and the meaning is community. Things like, I mean, it was amazing because it reconnected me with my past from what I was listening to my father and my mother talking. My mother was very Christian, her whole family was, so was my father. So I was always surrounded with that spirit, let's say, attitude. So it was very healing for me with time. It took me years, but I couldn't play music. I stopped playing the harmonica here and there. And then I had, when things calmed down, I did my studies. I was a professional psychologist, all of that, and I had found meaning. I had found purpose. I found my wife, and we had children, things like that. And so I had a grounding and a purpose. And then I started feeling. I was publishing. I was writing. I mean, I was really into it. But something missed. My inner child, Pierre, something's missing, man. Something's missing. It is good. You're growing well. I felt older than I was. For many reasons, and so music, the surge, another crisis came to me. I was in my 30s at the time, 38 perhaps, 30, where I have to return. I have to. I couldn't listen to blues before. I could enjoy listening to for those 10 years or 8 years. I just could not enjoy. I mean, I had some pride about the fact that I knew about that culture, that musical culture, all of that, and the alphabet, the blues alphabet, all of that. But I couldn't enjoy it. Occasionally, my wife and I would go listen to a blues band. I would, okay, fine. But this, a huge, like an implosion or explosion came in and said, "You got to go back." So, and that this time, uh, late 80s, I would say 88, 89, perhaps. I went back. I started with a fury, and never looked back. So in the beginning, I had to catch up because I could still do some bending stuff because I knew it's like bicycle riding. There's certain things you can do, but the wind, the tonality, the tone. I mean, it's just enormous amount of work and year. I still work on my tone. I still work on my phrasing. I mean, but so I went like this and start playing the old guys, walking by myself, all these melodic blues songs, with different bands, and then decided to go on my own, to do my own kind of phrasing, my own songwriting, and my own band eventually.
Okay. So how did Mississippi Heat get started?
So that was in that period. So it was the late 80s, early 90s. I mean, I had gone to jam sessions regularly. I met some people like John McDonald, who's a very dear friend, Sonny Wimberly, who was Muddy Waters' bass player for a while, records with them. And Gloria Spivey, people like that. Victoria Spivey, sorry. Spivey, Victoria Spivey had a small record label, and Muddy Waters and some of his musicians recorded for her, as well as this Sonny Wimberly, who took me under his wing. Um, Oh, I don't know. I reconnected with Junior Wells, who had welcomed me when I was horrible. I had played 6 months. I was horrible, horrible, horrible. But my brother Michel was always a coach for me and support, and he knew music meant so much to me. So when I was 17 or whatever, we would go to Teresa's, because I was so excited. But I didn't want to. But he told me, no, no, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. It was in a ghetto, in the south side, so not far from Hyde Park. It was about 10 minutes away. We would take a taxi. But anyway, so that's how I had met Gino Wells. He wore. Michelle said, "Do you mind if he sits with you? If he sits with you, and yeah, no, bring him out." Okay, so I was horrific, but I didn't know that at the time because I was more in touch with my excitement and with my passion. So we hit it off. Like I remember him looking at me with something in his eyes that felt like a blessing or love, or I don't know what to tell you. But that's the way I took it. He gave me two harmonicas that night, and I was 17, and I was again 6 months, maybe 9 months. I don't know. I mean, horrific, bad, but the passion was there. So he gave me a small harmonica in key of E, which is a high key, high pitch, but he sang in all keys, junior, and he tended to go on the higher pitch, like a Sonny Boy Williamson.
Oh,
Uh, number two. He would go on higher, tended to do that. But and then he gave me his chromatic harmonica, 16 hole with a lever, and he gave that to me the same night. So I knew that. So we became, all over the years, even when I was off. Um, when I came back, we reconnected, and he always was supportive of my style of playing. He was very supportive, and he liked the way I play. He liked silence, and I like silence. If my band sometimes tells me, "Oh, don't stop playing, keep playing, because my instinct sometimes is not to play at all, and to let the band, breathe and enjoy something. Oh, I can do wow wow. I can do with the drums. I can do bass lines with the bass. Yes, I can do that. But sometimes I feel like silence is my best contribution. And so I mean, there is a music in silence, to me. So and Junior was an amazing guy like that. When he play, one down, and he would wait. The music continues. One down. So that's the use of silence as opposed to some more manicky style, which may be out of this world technically, and I'm the first one to say. But some people don't take a breather. They don't. There are moments where silence, especially in slow songs, but
Mhm.
let's see, any tempo, it can be amazing. It can be just as powerful as a note. But anyway, so we had an affinity, Junior and I. So I never look back. So after my brother came to one of my friend John McDonald, who I had met in those jam sessions at a place called No Exit. Strangely enough, that's the name of the coffee house. No Exit. Very very Sartre. Very. Anyways, had met him there, and Sonny Wimberly stuff like. So John invited me to one of his gigs with Bob Stroger on bass, Robert Covington, and myself. We were a quartet that night, and Michel Soho. Well, we played together. And my brother Michel said to me, "What up? Why don't you form a band? Here is the band. I'll be your manager." So that's the way it started. Then
Okay.
we got all excited. Bob Stroger, Robert Covington, bless him, he passed away, who was dear, dear, dear to me as well. And John McDonald was still alive, and Bob is 95 years old. So Bob Stroger is still recording, traveling the world, Brazil. He plays with the Brazilian blues band. Bob Stroger goes all over the world. I mean, he's getting. He's just top. I mean, thank God we still have Buddy Guy too, who's going to be 90, I think, soon. But anyway, so we formed the band, and thanks to my brother Michel, and then Michel said to me, my brother said, "Why don't you write songs?" I said, "But songs? I don't know how to." Yeah, I write songs because it's your band. I was the band leader. I was the one financing. Michelle helped me enormously too financially to make this go. We used to play for tips. And Michelle would add money, stuff like that, so we could share with everybody. So we had friends that came over, family. I mean, everybody. There was a momentum. Um, and then the first album came to be, and Michel said, "Oh, you got to write songs. You got to write songs. I mean, it's your band, even though I don't sing at all. I don't. So I've always been blessed to have singers who are willing to sing my songs since the very beginning. I mean, this is within 30 years now. So I'm always touched and blessed that I have amazing singers and that are willing to sing my songs. I always ask feedback. Of course, I always say, overall, is a positive. It's a positive experience. So that's how it started. Sam Lay was the drummer. the Robert Covington became the singer. He had the golden voice. That was his nickname, golden voice. So Robert Covington sang some of my songs. I mean, he was a ridiculous entertainer, drummer, you name it. But his health was failing. So I had Sam Lay. Oh, wait a second. So Covington played drums on the first album, straight from the heart. But Sam Lay came as a guest because we became friends as well. Sam Lay. And I also brought Muddy Waters, Calvin Jones, the bass player from
Okay.
Muddy Waters, who lived in where I was living in Oak Park at the time, and he was 2 blocks away from me. We became very good friends. I adore him and his wife. So I invited Calvin. Billy Flynn joined the band, and Billy Flynn wrote a song for Calvin's wife, Ruby May. Her name was Ruby May. So we recorded a song called Ruby May that Billy Flynn wrote, and that actually Calvin Jones sang the song for his wife. Yeah, for Ruby May.
Okay.
It was we're always family. This is one thing about us. Mississippi Heat, thanks to my brother, my upbringing, and we always my sister joined in with the years, and we're extremely close family. So the band is like a family as well. So
Um, you currently touring um, right now, going on tours?
oh yes, yes, there's a lot going on. A lot going on. I'm working on another album now for
Oh,
next year, and I don't want to go too fast, but this is my love. I enjoy writing and composing all of that. So I have to talk to Delmark at some point and see when we're going to do it. I'm very happy with Delmark. I've done so many for them. Um, so let me see. Yes, so we had 2 tours in June this month, and in August they were canceled because of political reasons in Canada. And then, but I have a European, about close to 1 month tour in October with a band. We go to this time we do a lot in France and Belgium. Where
okay.
yeah, I just came back from Mexico. But I do some guest appearances. So I went to Mexico. I just came back last Monday or something, where for 4 days, they invited me and I was the guest star, stuff like that. I do more of that. I do Argentina on my own as well. I've done a couple of tours over there in Buenos Aires. No, we have different, with Fargo festival coming up. On Thursday, I'm in Chicago, Kingston Mines. We have a lot. It's a lot of variety. Um, yeah, it's going extremely well. I'm enjoying my family as well. Grandkids, stuff like so. It's a full life right now.
So do you think you'll ever make it to Ohio?
Oh, Ohio! I love Ohio. Uh, Look, we've played many times in Ohio. It's an issue of looking at my schedule and coming. Where are you? By what town?
I am currently in Marion, but we are close to Columbus, and I know Columbus always has his Jazz and Blues Fest
Yes,
and everything.
love to
Yeah,
go to
coming.
Columbus. My best friend was in Columbus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he passed away now, and yeah, but he was in Columbus. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful city.
Thank you. Yes. Um, so besides, you said you were coming out with a new album. Um,
Yeah.
do you have any other projects that you're working on right now? Or is that just basically it?
Well, I have I guest on some friends, colleagues' records. So I've finished something. I did 2 songs. I think I did this time. I'm also working on live songs. So besides writing songs for the album, I'm working on fresh material for as I don't sing and I start the show with instrumentals. Sorry about that. Somebody's trying to call me. Don't worry about it. I try to come with variety, so I'm always looking for instrumentals, either for that I would use for recording because why not, but also for variety sake for shows. So that's what I work on all that. When I'm home, I enjoy the family, as I say, because our grandkids are here, things like that. They love to spend time with us, but I spend quite a lot of time on my own writing songs, which is my joy.
Okay. Where can people find you on the web?
So we have a website, mississippiheat.net, and you'll have everything there, videos, all the albums that we have, reviews, pictures, sound bites, you name it, bios, interviews, the whole shebang.
Okay. Well, thank you so very much, Pierre, for taking the time out to let me interview you.